darling, happy new year to you. First week of 2018, very exciting. Of course, this is the time for all the new resolutions. I'm sure we all have them. If you don't have them, then really good for you. Good for you, keep rocking it as you are. I've got quite a few resolutions this year. Of course, one of them is fitness-based, whose isn't? And I thought on that subject, a dumbbell cake would make a really good one for the first week of the year. Because we're all pretending to be into it for a bit, aren't we? And I actually happen to be making this dumbbell cake this week anyway, because it's my boyfriend's stepbrother's birthday. It fell on New Year's Eve and he is mega into his fitness, so I was making him a dumbbell cake and I was like, yes, brilliant one for the first week of 2018. So I hope you enjoy it, I hope it is useful in some way, and yes, I understand the irony of making a dumbbell out of cake, but I literally can't think of a more fun dumbbell in the world. To make my dumbbell, I'm starting with two 6-inch round cakes. I'm putting each of those on a 6-inch round board and I'm layering them together with chocolate buttercream as I normally would. Ordinarily at this stage I would add a crumb coat, but instead here I need to cut a section of my cake away because I want to replace it with something firmer than cake that I can actually stand the cake up on its end and it's not going to distort the shape too much. So instead of having all cake, I'm doing part Rice Krispie treats. Now of course you can make your own by using Rice Krispies and marshmallows. On this occasion I just went to the supermarket and bought the Rice Krispie treats. I know it's very bad. So I used a 6-inch round tin, of course the same shape and size as the cakes I'm actually using for the dumbbell, and I pushed some Rice Krispie treats around the edge of the tin. Now of course I needed this to be as deep as my cake, so I did this twice and then put the Rice Krispies together. If it doesn't quite match the height of your cake, you can always cut some away. Rice Krispie treats cut super easily, they're really nice to slice through. I then put my Rice Krispie treats on top of my cake and cut away the section of cake underneath so I could pull the cake away, spread some buttercream over one side of the Rice Krispie treats and then push those against the cake, and therefore it made the complete shape again, just part was Rice Krispies, part was cake. Once that was done, I used chocolate ganache to crumb coat all the way over everything so I had a good firm foundation. Now of course the most important part here is to remember where your Rice Krispies are. If you do a very thick layer of ganache and don't keep an eye on where your Rice Krispies are, you're going to get to the end of it and not have a clue which side should be facing downwards. So always keep in mind where they are. It should be fairly obvious with your first coat of ganache where they are because you'll see the Rice Krispies coming through. I would just on each coat score a line across where your Rice Krispies are so you always know which side they are. Once I was happy with my ganache crumb coat, I popped my cakes in the freezer just to chill them because I'm going to turn them up on their side, so I do want everything nice and firm. I then tipped one cake up onto its side, Rice Krispie treats downwards. Of course I've got the cake board there from the start as well, so I have got a solid cake board on one side of my cake and then Rice Krispie treats at the bottom which are nice and hard, and then the cake up the top, and the whole lot is coated in ganache except the bottom of this board. That doesn't need to be coated. So once my cake was up on its side, I wanted to cover both sides first and then do the middle section. So I rolled out some black sugar paste and used a circle cutter that was slightly larger than the diameter of my cakes, and I cut out 2 circles, one for each side of the cake. You can either brush water over the ganache or you can use piping jelly, so I choose to brush water over ganache and piping jelly on the back of my board because piping jelly is much more sticky. Water's not really going to work very well on the back of the board at all. For each one I just lifted the circle up onto the side of the cake, smoothed it over a bit, and if there was far too much overlap I used my scalpel to come in and just take away the excess around the edges. I then rolled out a strip of sugar paste and cut a nice long rectangle matching the width of my cake. Now mine was just under 10 centimeters, but to make it easy I did 10 centimeters knowing I could trim some away. So my rectangle was 10 centimeters by 40 centimeters, and again I brushed water over the ganache part of my cake. I then matched my rectangle up with the bottom edge of the cake and followed it all the way over the top of the cake and down to the back. I smoothed this over with a flexi smoother and again used my scalpel to get rid of any excess paste hanging over the edge. I then moved one cake onto my cake board and stuck it in place with some royal icing, and then I made the bar that's going to go between the two weights. Now for that I just used a poly dowel in the middle. If you don't have any of these thick plastic poly dowels you can use a normal cake dowel or even a clear plastic straw. So I rolled out a rectangle of white fondant. I measured 5 inches in length, that's the distance I wanted between my two weights. I cut the rectangle, brushed it with piping jelly and then wrapped my poly dowel up in the fondant. I made sure I rolled it across the surface so that it got rid of any seams. Where I'd re-rolled the handle, obviously the paste stretched out, so I re-measured 5 inches and then trimmed the excess off of each end. I then got my second cake ready and used some royal icing to attach that to the board. Now of course where this royal icing was still really nice and soft I could move the cake. So I pushed my poly dowel into my other cake that was already set, straight into the middle, and then I tipped my other cake backwards and lined the polydowel up so it was nice and level, and then tilted the cake back onto it, and of course because it's level it just ends up in the centre of this cake as well. I then wanted to neaten up the edges, so the joins where my discs of paste met my big strip of paste on the actual weight parts of the cake. For that I used a sugar extruder or a sugar gun, and I used one of the attachments on that, the semicircle one, to squeeze out big long sausage semicircles of black paste. I then brushed some water over each joint on each side of my cakes, and I stuck a semicircle sausage the entire way around, and it just neatened everything up a bit. I then mixed up some silver paint using silver dust and Spiritus Rectificazione, the really strong alcohol, and painted that central bar silver. Now I did think afterwards I wanted to add some acknowledgement of what weight this dumbbell would be, so I used my cake style plunger cutters to cut out 20 kg in black fondant and used some water to stick a 20 kg to each side of the dumbbell. And that is how to make a 3D dumbbell cake. I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you click that subscribe button. There are brand new videos every single Monday. Of course, we're in 2018 now. A very exciting new year for #YesDarling. If you are baking or cake decorating or any of that lovely stuff this week, make sure you take photos, upload them to Instagram and use #YesDarling, and I will give you a shout out in my stories on Monday. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.